Okay. I think it's for real back on. The stream health still says it's pretty bad. But, like, it says that it's streaming. Is this the truth? Hi, Libby. Hi. Hello. Hi, Elizabeth. Gosh dang. Hi, Bruna. Hello, welcome back, everyone. I'm so sorry. Someone who really likes the Lies of Locke Lamora is pissed that I didn't like it. And they're sabotaging my stream. Okay, while people filter back in, I'm gonna go refill my water and go to the restroom. I'll be right back. Yikes. Hi, welcome back, everyone. Okay, I'm back. Hopefully everyone else is back. There's 9 people here. I'm so sorry that it's a little blurry. Oh gosh. Hello, welcome back. I'm sorry my internet crashed or whatever just happened. I don't know. It's sabotage. It was like Christopher in the other room. Like, as soon as I started saying I didn't like the Lies of Locke Lamora, he just like yanked out the wire. Just kidding, he didn't do that. That would be kind of hilarious, but also kind of messed up. Okay, so 10 people are back. I'm sorry we lost half the audience, but I don't know what's going on. I forced myself through the second half of the Lies of Locke Lamora today. It was a thing. My brother, I made him read this with me. I was like, hey, we should buddy read this. And he was like, okay, yeah, let's do it. And we've been planning it for a few weeks. And then I started on Monday, he started on Tuesday. And then like halfway through, I was like, Chase, I don't want to keep reading this. I don't like it. And he was like, you made me read it. You have to finish it. And I was like, okay. And so I was like at 53% this morning. And I forced myself through the second half. It was not a pleasant experience. If I had DNF'd it, I think I would have DNF'd it at 2 stars. And I was thinking that if I continued, I would continue on and I would give it maybe 3 stars. No. I hate it so much. Words can't express. Oh. Okay. Let me try to think about what I did like about it. I liked the, like, priest guy that, like, is the one that teaches Locke how to be a gentleman bastard. Chains, or whatever his name is. I liked him. I think that about sums it up. Now let's talk about what I didn't like. Let's transfer all this stuff over into my spreadsheet too. Let's see, I finished this today, so today's the 20th. Oh, this is not number 20. Well, let's see. There's another book that I finished in between there, but that's fine. I'll just pop that in. This was a read. This is by Scott Lynch. Yay, yay. 22 hours long. This is a male author with a male lead. Oh, is he American? I think Scott Lynch is American, right? USA? Yeah. Oh my gosh, I forgot this is what he looks like. The long hair. Now I know why Chris liked him. Just kidding. Adult. It was high fantasy, so I finished another high fantasy book. That's good. It was on audio. It was narrated by Michael Page. Oh gosh, Michael Page. It was 22 hours long. There's 22 hours of my life I'll never get back. And it was 624 pages. This edition is actually shorter than like the paperback edition, but that's fine. It definitely won't be my longest book of the year. And this was written, is this another 2006er? 2006? Wow. What are you laughing about? Wait, no, DNF. This is a book that literally everyone seems to like except for me. And unlike some other books where I can see the merit in them even though they aren't for me, I don't understand why people like this book. I genuinely don't. I hated it so much. My enjoyment as I was reading it was basically like, okay, like this? Is that right? Okay, so like this. Kept going. It was like, it started out like pretty high. Like I was like, okay, this is good. And then it just like consistently was like going down, and then past the halfway mark, it was just like into like garbage territory. Hi, Elizabeth. So this book is, let's talk about what I didn't like about it. Locke is a horrible person. I hate him. He disgusts me. He's so unlikable. So, like, I don't understand why people like him as a character. He's so icky. Like, every time I was reading about him, he just, like, made my, like, skin crawl. He, like, really creeped me out. He wasn't a good person. He wasn't a likable person. He didn't have any redeeming qualities, in my opinion. I never really cared about any of the characters in this book. Like, I just never cared. I was never invested. And that's why I was going to DNF it at 50%, is that I didn't care about the characters. I wasn't invested, and I didn't, like, I wasn't, like, getting anything out of it. And I knew that it wasn't going to be above a 3-star if I kept on reading it. But Chase made me keep reading it, the booger. And so I forced my way through. Do know that there's a ton of language in here. So if you don't like swearing, you definitely won't like this book, because it is a lot. So Locke I find to be really, like, disgusting, and is just like a completely unredeemable character for me. And like the more I spent time with him, the more irredeemable he got, to the point where like I like was actively like wanting him to like die and lose. Like I did not want him to prevail and win, because he was like such a scumbag, in my opinion. I didn't ever really care about any of the other characters. Like sometimes I had like mild enjoyment about them, but like it was never very much. There are 2 graphic torture scenes in this book, which I just really don't care to read. I don't like reading rape scenes, and I don't like reading torture scenes. They like really make my stomach queasy and really skeeve me out. And there are like 4 female characters in this book. One of them is the wife of a character, and she plays a bigger role towards the end of the book, but she's not really like a character in the first half of the book. Just like, she's just prey. She's the wife of prey. She's someone that Locke is trying to steal from. There's one other female character, and then there's like a few like female characters that are like fighter warriors and stuff. Let's get into spoiler territory a little bit. So while my hands are up, I'm going to say spoilers. They're not going to totally spoil the story, but they're going to give spoilers about some things that I really hated that was done in this. So while my hands are up, mute yourself, look away, and I will drop them when I'm done. One of the only like female character in this book. Okay, just kidding. There's 5 female characters in this book. The only one in the first half of the book that is really relevant is killed and shipped in a barrel of horse piss. So like super disrespectfully. And the whole reason she was in the book and the whole reason she died was so that the men could feel angry and motivated. Which is like, come on, this is the 21st century. Aren't we past this? Are we not? And then the other female characters, out of, I guess, the 5 female characters in this book, 3 of them are dead by the end. So you have 2 female characters remaining in this whole story full of tons and tons of characters. How that happens, I don't know. And Locke is one of the people in the book who performs the torture. There's 2 torture scenes, and Locke performs one of them, cuts somebody's fingers off, and does like horrible things to this person. And we're supposed to like him. Like, sure, he's not torturing like a great person, but like, why would I be rooting for someone who is doing that? And it almost felt like we were supposed to root for him because we like him. Like, I can understand having like this dislikable character who's like supposed to be dislikable, but that we still kind of root for and like want to win. Someone more like Cersei Lannister or something, like where like some people can like her or hate her or whatever, but they can like still respect her even though they hate her, but you can still like respect her and like her even though she's doing horrible things. Like Locke, it felt like he was supposed to be a likable character that you were rooting for. Yet he did like such horrible things. But it felt like it was no big deal because we had already like established that he's really great. But I never felt that establishment. Okay, my hands are down now. So basically he's a sleazebag, and basically I'm really pissed about the female characters. And I just found this book so unenjoyable. Like, it was such a slog to read, and I loathed every moment past the halfway point. There was also, like, a point where, it also didn't help that, like, after I decided that I wanted to DNF it, and then I tried to talk to my brother about it, and he's like, you have to finish. The next scene that I read was, like, one of the next scenes I read was, like, one of the most pointless scenes I've ever read in a book ever. That was just, like, why was it even there? really, really hated The Lies of Locke Lamora, and I'm really sad. I'm very impressed with myself that I finished The Final Empire and The Lies of Locke Lamora within 2 days of each other. I finished Final Empire yesterday and Lies of Locke Lamora today. 2 epic fantasies that have been on my TBR for ages. Like, I'm very proud of myself, but I'm so disappointed in this one. If you're debating of which one to read out of the 2, like, I added this to my shelf in April of 2014. If you're debating which one to read of the 2, definitely read The Final Empire, because it is eons better than this garbage. And, like, it's like that I don't understand how someone could, like, enjoy this and like this. Like, I was, like, reading Christopher's review of this. It's not, like, an extensive review, but Christopher's review of this book on Goodreads is, like, I loved every minute of this book. And I'm like, how? How did you enjoy this? There's no redeeming qualities, in my opinion. And, like, I never cared about the characters, and I never cared about the story. I really, really hated it. And I feel like I just wasted 22 hours of my life. Thankfully, the first half I listened at about, like, 1.85 to, like, 2.5 speed. So about 2 times speed, but like a little bit lower than that usually for the first half. And then the second half of the book, so that I only wasted 5 hours of my life. And then the second half of the book I listened at 3 times speed, because I was like, I just need to power through this as fast as I can. And I actually ended up finding, on the bright no, I looked this up, and I ended up finding this site called Audiobook Speed Calculator for people who really want to know. And you can stick in how many hours of the audiobook you have left, how many minutes, the playback speed, and what you really have left. So if you're listening to a book at like 2.35 speed and you have 7 hours and 43 minutes left, then it will take you 3 hours and 17 minutes to listen to this book, which I think is so cool. I'm really, really glad that I found this site. So there's a positive, but I was like, okay, how much of this book do I have left? If I'm at 7 hours and 7.5 hours of this book and I'm listening at 3 times speed, how much do I have left? And it calculated it for me. So then I was like, okay, I only have this many hours more of torture to get through. I used that site planning a readathon TBR last year. Nice, I'd never heard of it. Elizabeth, why are you holding out on me? I could have been using this forever. It's okay. I mean, I listen to most of my books around 2 times speed, so, like, I can do the math of splitting it in half, but anything more than that, I'm like, nope. Like, even just being able to, like, say that you're listening at 1.5 speed, like, that makes a huge difference to be able to know that this is this. Like, that's really cool. I'm very pleased with that. So, sorry, I have fluff on my tongue. I'm glad I found this site. I'm sad that I read The Lies of Locke Lamora, because it makes me mad. And again, like, it's one of those ones where it's like, sometimes I'll read a book and it's just really not for me. I don't like it, but, like, I can see why other people liked it. I don't understand how people like this book. I hate it. I hate it so much. And I'm so disappointed. And now I need to call my brother, and we're going to have a long chat about this book. I think he didn't particularly love it either. I think he said that it's probably like a 3-star book for him, so he still liked it. No. Well, at least there's 2 really, really long books off my TBR now, and sequels that are gonna come out with past that and stuff. Like, at least those are forever gone, which makes me feel happy. I also, by the way, about Lies of Locke Lamora, I also just really didn't like the way it was, like, written and formatted. So there's a lot of, like, time period jumping back and forth. And I found it very, very distracting because the chapters are so short. So you read a short chapter set in this time, and then a short chapter set in this time, and then a short chapter. And it's just, like, bouncing back and forth so quickly that, like, as soon as I got invested in, like, what was happening at this time period, then it would skip and go back to this time period. And then as soon as I'd get invested in this one, it would skip back. And it would just hop back and forth so much that, like, I felt like I was floundering for the first, like, third of this book. I was like, not enjoying the experience because I couldn't get my feet underneath me when reading it. I mean, and I would say maybe I just don't like books that are set in like dual timelines, but I just loved The Secret Keeper by Kate Morton, which is set in dual timelines. Actually, it's set in 3 different timelines that it skips back and forth between. And I adored it. So it's not that. It is the way that this one was written. It makes me mad. Ugh. So, Every Heart a Doorway by Shauna McGuire. First book in the Wayward Children series. This one was a positive one. So I finished this one this morning as well. This was a read. This is, let's see. You bookmarked that tab. Yeah, it's a really cool site, and I'm sad I didn't know about it beforehand, but I will definitely utilize it in the future. Instead of making semi-educated guesses, I can just know for certain. Oh, yeah, she's female. A female lead. Shauna McGuire, I believe, is from the United States. Yes, she is. You don't think I'll enjoy the 3rd book of the Wayward Children series? Oh no, really? Judith, what do you think? This is like Judith's one of her favorite series, and she was like really excited but nervous when I started reading it. This is a novella. I'm excited about book 2 because I was very interested in Jack and Jill's story and world. I think their world is like really fascinating. So I'm excited to read book 2. See, okay. This was 5 hours long. It was digital. You love the 3rd book in the series, but you're a Dungeons and Dragons player, and it read like a quest for you. It's 170 pages. And this was 2016? 2016. Gave it 3 stars. I started the series. It's book 1. Oh, not book A. Book 1. 1 is not even near A on the keyboard. I don't know where that came from. So the first book in the Wayward Children series. Well, I'll definitely keep an eye out, an ear out, since I'm listening to it. Just slap me. How the ending of the 3rd one was, or the first one? The 3rd one is what you're talking about, right? So I think the world is super interesting, and I like the characters. Some more than others, but I am interested in the characters, and I think the premise is fascinating, and I enjoyed it. Yes, the 3rd. I really don't like the writing. I gotta say, the writing does not do it for me. It's really interesting, because I'm not one, I mean, you guys know, you hear me talk about books all the time, and how often do I mention the writing in books? Not that often. It takes either for it to be like extra delightful or extra funny or extra wonderful or like extra terrible or extra not my taste for me to talk about it. If it's like anywhere in the middle ground, I don't really, it's not something I super pay attention to. I should listen to Mark Reed's the first one. Oh no, I didn't know he read that. Oh, I'm definitely gonna have to do that. Definitely not right now. Since I just read it, I'm not reading it again. I need to read other books, but it's one that I definitely will. I'll for sure listen to him read this. I can just imagine him freaking out about it. Oh, that's great. I didn't know he read it. That's wonderful. The writing just really didn't do it for me though. It's like very like flowery and very metaphorical and all this stuff, and it just like was very jarring to me. and like really pulled me out of the story. Like I'd be starting to get invested in the story or the characters, and then I would like get pulled out of it to listen to this like description that I really don't like, and then back into the story, and then this description that I really don't like, and then like back and forth like that. And it was just like very like difficult for me to get into it in that regard, because I just was too distracted by the writing, which I think made me like enjoy the story less, unfortunately. But overall, I thought it was really interesting. I think the idea of it is so fascinating, and that there's like all these different worlds, and I'm excited to continue on with the series. I feel like I will like book 2 better. I hope I'll like book 2 better. But I'm really interested in like their storyline, so I can't wait. And then I'm gonna actually try to power through the series over the next like month, and get to the 4th one and stuff. So I mean, they're so short. What is that, like 15 hours of reading time? Like I can spare that for the series. Her urban fantasy series is like that, really descriptive and flowery. I feel like I heard, what's her face say that? Sarah from Sarah Without an H. I think she mentioned that she didn't care about the writing in the series either. But I hadn't even read anything by Shauna McGuire when I started that, so I definitely will finish the series, I think, unless I like really hate book 2, then I won't. But I like doubt that will happen, because I'm like really intrigued by book 2. I definitely will read this series, and then I also really want to read Into the Drowning Deep. But then beyond that, I'm not sure. I know Chris really liked her Feed series by Mira Grant, and outside of that, like, I'm not sure what she's written, but she's definitely a writer that I'm going to try more from, but I'm like kind of cautious about going into, because like the thing that like really does grip me about Every Hearted Doorway is like, so far you've only liked Wayward Children and Rosemary and Rue by her. I think Sarah said that she really didn't like Rosemary and Rue, so I'm like cautious about going into it, but also I don't think I have very similar taste as Sarah, so I don't really know. I'm like hesitant to read other things by her though, because the writing really didn't jive with me. The story and the characters were like worth it. So that's how I feel about Every Hearted Doorway. I am like technically disappointed in it. Like I was hoping I'd like it more than I did, but I still did like it. And this is my feelings for the week. So I guess I've finished 7 things. 1 was a DNF, and nothing was over 4 stars. And 1 was a reread and a children's book. Honestly, I did pretty great this week as far as reading. I thought it'd be interesting to look at my summary so far. Let's look at it in pie charts, actually. So I feel like I've had a really diverse, like, as far as like genre-wise in reading so far this month. Look at that. Classics, historical fiction, contemporary, low fantasy, high fantasy, mystery, and science fiction. And actually the page count is like fairly even as well. I just need read a little bit more science fiction and classics, and it will be like an almost perfect pie chart. Like, I don't know how I've done that so far. Hi, Morgan. Do you see my pie charts, my reading pie charts? Are you so impressed by me? Don't you wish you could have a reading pie chart too, showing all your genres and by page count? Don't you? This is so fun. Sorry. You do, very colorful. It's because I've been reading so diversely this month. I'm so proud of myself. Each color is a different genre, and I've been killing it. I do need to read a little bit more science fiction, but I'm actually planning on reading Wool, like, at the end of next week, so that will definitely bump up my page count, because Wool is long. I have no idea what that book is. By the way, were you going to... She bought Leviathan Wakes. Are you going to read that? What's her... Judith, are you the one that put Leviathan Wakes, like, are you going to listen to that? Or are you going to physically read it? Or are you even going to now? It's a book suggested by me. You know, it's going to be interesting. Thinking about it. You should read it. It's really good. I'm so put upon. The Runestone Saga. Doesn't have great ratings, does it? Oh, he's Canadian. Oh, she fell asleep. Poor Judith. Oh, she's so sick. Oh. How many series have I completed this year? How many series have I actually completed, or how many series have, off of my own arbitrary rules, am I saying that I've completed? I answer back. I will add it to my TBR. No promises of when it will get read, but I will think about it. Thanks very much, Morgan. My poor sick Judith. I feel so bad. DNFs count. Well, then 3. I'll go over that in a second. But I have 1 physical book so far, which is surprising. I've read some poetry, some novellas, and novels. Physical versus digital. Page length. I've been reading a lot of short things. Most of those were DNFs. And I've read 1 long thing. Well, I've read a couple long things, but actually completing this year. I actually ended up going in, and I think Brock is going to make a new spreadsheet because something's wrong with, like, the 5-star reads. But for as it is, I was able to change his spreadsheet thing. He showed me how, so that it would show me more stuff, more stats. So these are the stats that I have now. So I've read 1 book published between 1900 and 1925. I've read 3 books published between 1926 and 1949. I've read 1 book published in the 60s, 1 book published in the 90s, 6 books published in the 2000s, 5 books published between 2010 and 2016, and then 2 books each published in 2017 and 2018. So I expanded that out a lot because he had it super, like, crammed together, and he just tracked anything pre-20s all lumped together, which really doesn't work for me because I like classics and that doesn't give me enough stats. So I was able to change this. He goes over how to do it in his live stream that he had last night. So I recommend watching that, but I'm really glad about that. Let's see. So yeah, well, right now for some reason 5 stars aren't tracking, but I have read a couple 5 stars so far this month. And yeah. And yeah, 66% female to 33% male authors, which is incredibly high. Like, that's so many male authors. That's definitely going to decrease intensely by the end of the year. But for now, my males are really almost keeping up with the female authors. I'm impressed with them. Let's read. Let me pull him up. Let's see. YouTube. Let's see. Oh gosh. It's this one. Oh gosh. It is this one, right? I think it's this one. This is the one from, yeah, this has all 2019 dates. So this is the video where he talks about his spreadsheet and he goes over how to edit stuff if you need to. I don't like poetry. I'm not a poetry reader. Like, I am shocked. I think this is the first poetry collections that I've read in the past, like, 10 years. You must have missed it last night then. Yeah, he started doing it around 11 p.m. EST, I think is when he started, maybe around 10:30 EST. Who created the chart? Brock from Let's Read. That is a link to that video. You love poetry, Edgar and Emily. Oh, see, yeah, it's just not really my cup of tea. It just doesn't jive with me too well. I don't know. As I'm reading through Shakespeare works, I think I'll like try to delve into his poetry a little bit, into his sonnets at least. But outside of that, very little is like encouraging me to pick it up. If I was to pick up any other poetry, I would probably pick up some of the Bronte's work since I own a collection of their poetry. I just haven't read it. Poetry is rough for you. You feel too dumb for it. I would agree with that statement. The poetry that I read is children's poetry, so I did not feel too dumb for it, but I think in general that is something I can very much relate to. You were asleep already. I've heard good things about that one, but I'm like afraid that I'll hate it, so I just kind of haven't picked it up. Protagonist gender so far, almost as many male protagonists as female, which is shocking, and then ensemble is always going to be the highest for me. Age group, mostly adult, like about 75 adult and 25% middle grade. So many American authors. And yeah. And 10% of what I've read so far this year has been rereads, which I think is sick. So I'm already winning in that goal without even meaning to. Because I could not stop for death. My favorite poem is The Lady of Shalott by Alfred Lord Tennyson. I do really like that poem, but like, it's Arthurian, how could I not? It's such Arthurian trash. And it's also like in the Anne of Green Gables movie. So, have I taken any English classes? I have not taken one in a long time. I took like one English class when I was like 16. And then I like studied Shakespeare for like a whole year when I was like 11, and we did have like a focused section on specifically his poetry, but I think it went over my head because I was 11. I like listening to Anne recite poetry in the movies of Anne of Green Gables, but that's because it's Anne and I love her. I do really like The Lady of Shalott. I'm kind of trash for that poem, actually. But, like, in general, I just don't think it's, like, super my thing. Maybe I should just delve into more, like, Tennyson and see if I like him. But I feel like there has to, in order for me to, like, super, super love poetry and, like, connect to it, I feel like there has to be, like, an outside force, like, influencing that. So, like, I really love The Lady of Shalott, but that's because it, like, makes me feel super nostalgic towards Anne of Green Gables and her, like, getting in the boat and floating down the stream and then Gilbert saving her and, like, all this stuff. Like, there's all this outside stuff that's, like, affecting my love for it, but then also I do really just love that poem. I don't think I've ever had the full thing fully memorized, but, like, I've definitely had most of it memorized at multiple points in my life. It either jives with you or it does not. I think things can semi-jive. I would dare argue. It's very surprising that I've read poetry this year, though. Let's just say. It's only because it was Winnie the Pooh. It's only because it was A.A. Milne. Which, speaking of, I really want to reread The Red House Mystery by A.A. Milne. What's-Her-Face is rereading that right now. Gwen from the Gwendolyn Reading Method. And I'm just like, Girl, I want to reread that too now that I've read all the Winnie the Pooh books. Maybe I'll pick up some Tennyson. I actually own a collection of his poetry. I forgot that I owned that, but I do own that. I picked it up from my mom's house the last time we were there. So maybe I can look through that one and see. But that's the book that the Lady of Shalott was in. So far though, who is shocked that I've been reading so evenly? Me. The only thing I haven't read from this year that like I traditionally read would be nonfiction. I have not read any nonfiction so far this month, and it's kind of hurting my soul a little bit. I need to read some nonfiction, like desperately. I have a couple lined up on my plate over the next couple months. I'm going to read this biography about Monet in the later part of his lives, like when he was painting the water lilies, and I can't wait. I'm so excited. I'm also going to be reading Brain on Fire, and I'm going to finish The Good Neighbor. That one was called, by Maxwell King, or whatever his name is, it's about Mr. Rogers. I'm probably about a third of the way through that book. So, nonfiction's the best. Are you kidding me? You're like, oh, poetry's so great, but nonfiction sucks. Are you kidding me? Nonfiction is the best. Oh my gosh. This whole bookcase right here, this entire bookcase right here, my mic is in the way. This entire bookcase right here, from top to the very bottom, all nonfiction. I love nonfiction. Nonfiction is the best. The Feather Thief was interesting. 2019 is the year for reading, I agree. My favorite book of 2017 was nonfiction. Who's being judgy now? You think the only nonfiction book you've ever read was a bio of Kurt Cobain, and we wonder why you don't love it. You should try more. It's really good. I would recommend starting with From Here to Eternity by Caitlin Doughty, because it's literally perfection. I don't know. How do you feel about death, Morgan? Because if you like death, this is a great look at death culture around the world, and it's wonderful. Really funny, really interesting, very respectful, but wonderful. I recommend. The Children's Blizzard. That sounds depressing. As I'm talking about this book is not depressing. This book is uplifting. Yes, she does work in a morgue. This is her other, well, she worked as a, as a crematory operator. This is her first book, Smoke Gets in Your Eyes, and it's wonderful, but I feel like this is a better place to start with her. I think it's a little bit more accessible. This is more memoir. This is more just like nonfiction about death. They're great, and you think you've heard Judith rant about that book before? Like rant like bad or rant good? Because she told me she really liked From Here to Eternity. And if she was lying to me, I will kick her butt. Not really, but she'd win. But I would be very sad. She doesn't have to lie to me about books. But she just read From Here to Eternity like last week. Yeah, she loves it. Okay, that's what I was saying. I was like, see, she thinks it's great because it is. You should listen to it. And Caitlin is a really good narrator. It's right on Judith's phone. You could download it on your phone. It'd be really easy. But I can kick her. You're such a jerk. I'm not gonna kick her. But you loved it. That's what I was gonna say. I was like, he said that you were ranting about it, and I was like, rants are usually negative. It can be depressing. Judith also just read Judith's awake. Judith also just read the Dead Mountain, and she really liked that one as well. Did you prefer Dead Mountain, or did you prefer From Here to Eternity? Don't you think Morgan should read From Here to Eternity, or is it just me? Because I think you should. It's great. And it's short. It will take you a couple hours to read. Like, it's great. It's so good. Lovely. Oh, I understood what you meant. I did say having a sore throat just makes you want to sleep. Oh. And so I guess I'm at 21 books for the month, and that's 5,109 pages, which is pretty good. You love From Here to Eternity more. Great. Make Morgan read it. He's like, I don't know if you probably missed this, but I was like, oh, I haven't read any nonfiction this year. That's like the one thing I need. Her writing is wonderful. I was like, I really need to read nonfiction this month. Like, that's the only thing I haven't read yet this month, and I have a couple lined up, but I just haven't gone to them yet. And he was like, nonfiction sucks. And then he was like, oh wait, I've actually only read one nonfiction book. Really, I shouldn't be saying anything because my opinion is invalid. Just kidding. He didn't say that, but we all knew that that's what he meant. And I said he should start with Here to Eternity because it's great. I'm way ahead of you as far as paid numbers of books, probably because it's all I've been doing is reading. And I've had 2 rereads this month so far, which is great. And well, also, Diana, take into consideration that, you know, you're going to school and have other things that you're doing. And I literally do nothing but work and read and watch Christopher play video games. So, that's my reading month so far. Alright, the big bad was awake. I'm gonna go hide by. You're so rude. Leave Judith alone. She's the best. I think you're turning a little green, Morgan. So jealous. Hogwarts scarves to give away at Dragon Con. Oh, that's so nice. BRB, I'm going to murder someone. You go, girl. We'll all vouch for you. Let's talk about what I'm currently reading, actually. And let's plan my reading for the week. And then maybe wrap up the stream. But before that, I'm gonna go get some more water and go to the bathroom. Because my bladder is literally the size of a pea. Okay, I'm back. I ended up having to refill the water pitcher because we're out of water, so that took a while and it's annoying. Anyway, yes, her name is Jujitsu on there. Jujitsu. I thought there was a T in it, but maybe not. Jujitsu. So, I'm currently reading The Masqueraders by Georgette Hare. I'm not going to be done with this one this week. I'm buddy reading it with a friend, and we're reading 6 chapters a week. So I've read my 6 chapters for this week. I'm going to be reading 6 chapters this week, or last week, this week, whatever. I have 6 more chapters that I need to finish before Friday. I really love this book so far. It's so funny, and not being able to actually finish it, like having to pace myself and only read 6 chapters at a time because then we're discussing in between, so I don't want to spoil myself and like not be able to fully discuss it, means that I'm very limited on what I could read. And so I actually read the first 6 chapters of this, and then I hope you guys didn't read the summary. 6 chapters of this, and then read 6 chapters next week and stuff. I don't know what I'm saying. I really like what I've read so far. It's really funny. I was like so shook. Like if you read the summary, it's not like a surprise at all, but if you don't read the summary and just go in blind and expect a good romp from Georgette Hare, I was shook when the plot reveal was like revealed, and I was like was not expecting it whatsoever. And I think it's really funny, and I'm really interested to see how it's going to turn out. There's going to be 2 sets of couples. I already know which couples are going to be my favorite. I can't wait to read their story. It's going to be great. And oh my gosh, I think it's great. So this is about a brother and a sister who, it's after the, it's like right after the Jacobite rebellion has happened and is like ending, and they were on the Jacobite side, so they are, oh, bye Bruna. I'll probably still be here when you're back, but if not, bye. So they're like, they fled to England after the Jacobite rebellion, and they're in disguise so that like people won't like recognize them, and they both end up meeting people that they're interested in, but the main female character is a widow. So she's been married in the past, and the husband that she was married to he wasn't like a bad person, but she just like didn't care about him very much. Like they married for like, I don't know, because they were like meant to and all this stuff. Like she wasn't like super attached to him and didn't really care about him like that much. Like she was like fine with him, but they like didn't have a great marriage. And so it's like talking about her and how she's a widow and her husband's been dead for a couple years. He died during the rebellion, and she mentions how it's like her friends have heard her say that, I'm not sure what her nationality is. I'm not 100% sure. I don't know if it's been said yet. Maybe she's Scottish if it's about the Jacobites, or it might even be, I don't know, maybe she's French. Like I don't know what she is. But the quote about her husband, I was dying. I was laughing so hard. Where she says, it's like her friends had heard her say that his English respectability gave her a cramp in her soul. I love that line more than I love life. Gave her a cramp in her soul. Like, I want to use that phrase now. Like, whenever anything happens, I'm like, that gives me a cramp in my soul. Stop cramping my soul. I love it so much. Her writing is just so enjoyable and so funny, and I just am loving every second of it so far. I read the first 6 chapters, and I was like so like surprised and enjoyed it so much that I went back and I reread the 6 chapters over again. So I listened to the first 2 hours of the audiobook, and then I immediately listened to the first 2 hours of the audiobook over again, and I feel like I might do that for the entire book. I think I like might read like each section and then like immediately reread the same section, because I just like love it so much. It's fantastic, and I really, really like it so far. I'm very excited to continue on with my read of it. Definitely go pick up Cotillion if you want a phenomenal Georgette Hare. It's the only one I've read by her so far, but I loved it, and I'm going to be rereading it this summer. I chose it for my sister's book club. I loved it that much because I want my sisters to read it, because I think they will love me forever if I make them read a Georgette Hare, and they will appreciate how wonderful she is, and it will be great. So I'm making them all read it, and I'm going to reread it too because it was so good, and I feel like The Masqueraders probably won't be as good because, like, how can anything be as good as Cotillion? But, like, I'm sure it will still be delightful. So that's my thoughts about The Masqueraders so far. I will be 6 chapters further through the next time we talk. And then I'm also currently reading Artemis Fowl. I'm like not very far in. I don't even think I'm past the first chapter, but I'm working on it. And, ooh, I can mark that I've read all of this of The Lies of Locke Lamore. You guys have read so much so far today. Be impressed. And I'm also going to read a bit more tonight, so I'm definitely crushing my reading goal. I'm at 13 hours for the day. I think, let me guys know if you'd be interested in this, but I think that on a weeknight, either on like probably like a Thursday night, I'm thinking I might do a live show. Maybe not this Thursday, but next Thursday or something. I think I'm gonna do a live show where I just do like a flat lay, like with my phone, and show you guys how I'm tracking my reading this year. Would you be interested in seeing that? Because I'm using a ton of different things. I found some apps that I really like and that I'm really interested in and stuff, and I'm doing several different things and tracking stuff in many different ways. Are you all interested in? There are consent issues everywhere. Lovely. Maybe I'll DNF it. If I DNF it, that would work really well for my schedule, because I feel like I can't fit everything in as is. Yes, please. Okay. To give you an idea, I'm doing something called like a year in pixels. I'm doing like one where I have like a reading graph. I have this one, which is essentially a reading graph, but like upside down. Like I have like a ton of different things that I'm using. So I think actually I may do that now that I think about it for the month. Maybe once the month is over, maybe I'll just go through, squish these all in, and then I can see what my reading month looks like within like this small section and be like, oh, it took me, like, wouldn't this be great? And just like fix it so that they don't overlap at all, and then it will look super satisfying. And then if I want to see what I read on a particular day, I can just do that. Okay, someone who does spreadsheets, how do you fix this? How do you make it so that they don't extend past? Text wrapping? Oh gosh, that is not it. So it's not text wrapping. I don't think it's that. It is text wrapping. Oh, there it is. The movie was extremely tame compared to the book. Clan of the Care Bears. I've never seen the movie either. Oh, I think this will be great, and then I'll have a little upside down graph. This is lovely. I'm sure there's an easier way to like get these to all be the same size. I don't want to do a different color for each book, because I like being able to see, like, especially I've smashed them up small, be able to see what day it is based off of the color. Like, I haven't memorized what each color is. And I feel like there's too many books that it would just get, like, overwhelming, and I wouldn't really get, like, a ton out of it, because I'm like, oh, sometimes I read, like, from, like, 7 different books in one day. Like, I don't want 7 different colors on this spreadsheet, because I feel like it would make me frustrated. Text wrapping, end. There we go. Oh, this is great. And then maybe I'll leave the past weeks up and just smash everything else together. I think that looks really nice, actually. I'm quite pleased with that. Okay. So my plan for the week is Clan of the Cave Bear. Who knows, maybe I'll DNF it. The reason why I'm thinking I might like it is because, like, Kitty from Kitty G really liked it. Caitlin from Kitty G. But if I DNF it, honestly, I won't be mad. I'll just return it to Audible, get my credit back, and read something more exciting. I'm pretty sure, yeah, Caitlin gave it 5 stars. And she, like, really, really loved it and, like, sang its praises. It's cringy. Maybe I will have totally horrible issues with it, but Audrey gave it 3 stars. I don't think she's here anymore. Elizabeth gave it 4 stars. Anita gave it 5 stars. She really loved it. Diana gave it 4 stars. And, like, I'm totally fine with not liking it. This is kind of the reason why I'm going through my Audible books and trying to catch up on them. Is because there's a lot of them that I'm really not sure if I'll like. And then I can just DNF and return them if I don't like them. And then, like, move on to the next Audible book. It's kind of why I'm doing it. That's, like, the whole purpose of this. Which has worked out really well for me because mine Till Midnight, I DNF'd. I gave 1 star. I hated it. Same thing with the Left Hand of Darkness, and who knows, maybe I'll keep doing it with other ones. So, it was one of his favorites. Oh, that's nice that you read it with him. Yeah, it's like historical fiction that, like, it's like really old historical fiction, and I guess it's fantasy as well. I don't know, but I'm gonna be reading it this week. We'll see. I was planning on getting into the entire thing this week, pretty much, finishing it on Saturday, and then on Sunday I was going to pick up the time in between, and then after that I was going to get to Wool. I kind of, like, I don't think I'm actually going to do TBR jars picks specifically for the Audible books, because I kind of have them, like, planned out. Like, there were certain ones I needed to get to before certain dates, so I just kind of shoved them in there, and then once I've read those ones, I'm going to go back to drawing from the jar again. It just took like 10 years to write book 5, so the popularity dropped off. Yeah, there's like huge gaps between when she wrote them, I think. (1980, 82, 85, 90, 2002, 2011. And yeah, this one just came out, like, that's fairly recent. Considering that it started in the 80s and then book 6 came out in 2011, like, okay. It's, you know, only 31 years later. I mean, they are really big books, though. But yeah, the first one has 200,000 ratings. The second one has 66,000 ratings, and the 5th one only has 3,000 ratings. So, yeah. But I'm still excited to read it. I'll try it, but I will lower my expectations based off of what you just said. Land of Painted Caves isn't supposed to be the final book, so it could take another 5 years before the next is released. Oh gosh. It seems like a painful series to get into in that case. It's like, honestly worse than gosh, what is that called? Game of Thrones at this point. Game of Thrones started in the 90s, and book 5 is where he's at. So, anyway. Oh, gosh. Oh, my neck is so tense. This is my main reading goal for the week. Besides that, I'm going to start the time in between. And then from there, I'm going to, let's see what I have on my library app right now. Let's see. My next thing is Wondersmith, so that will be my next prioritization. Is really trying to get through Wondersmith. And then also I need to get through the next like 2 hours of The Masqueraders, but I'm not even going to put that in. And then I think after that I'm going to read Seven Husbands. Oh no, Artemis Fowl is next. Either one. I'll try to get to both of those. You still need to finish Nevermore. Get on it! You've been reading these since you were a teenager. Oh gosh. Nevermore is so good. I'm really excited to read Wondersmith. And welcome back, Bruna. So, yeah, that's basically my reading for the week. I don't have it super, like, scriptedly planned out, but Clan of the Cave Bear, Wondersmith, Artemis Fowl, and Seven Husbands are what I'm hoping to get through this week. We'll see what happens. I may have to, I think I have to get through How the Dukes Stole Christmas, because I think that one's due this week as well. So, like, I really need to get through some of these, but I'll see what I can push through. And then also, I wasn't going to do Reading Blackout or whatever, and I don't know how strictly I'm going to actually, like, track it. Reading Blackout is when you read from, like, a lot of, like, Black authors. But so far, I've already read, like, 2 this month. And since next month is Black History Month, I wanted to, like, try to focus on some Black authors next month. So Forbidden, I'm actually going to read, You're 23rd in Line at the library for Nevermore. Oh, I'm sorry. It's worth it, I promise. It's so good. So Forbidden is the first book, by Beverly Jenkins? Is that right? Is this the Beverly Jenkins one? Yeah. So, the first book in the Old West series by Beverly Jenkins. I've never read a book by her before, but she's really great on Twitter. And I've, like, watched some of her, like, speeches for, like, winning awards and stuff, and she's just, and I've listened to interviews with her. She's a really, really lovely person. I'm kind of afraid to read her books in that case, but I'm excited to at the same time. This is the first book in the series, and then I have book 2 and book 3 on hold at the library. I actually think book 2 came off of hold. Let's check that out. Book 2 came off of hold, but I have it for like 3 more weeks. Book 2 and book 3 came off of hold, but I have them both for about 3 more weeks, so I have enough time to read them in February, so I'm not going to read them this month, but I'm going to prioritize them in February, along with prioritizing and catching up on Alyssa Cole's book, A Hope Divided, which is book 2 in the Loyal League series. I read book 1 this year and really liked it, An Extraordinary Union, so I'm going to read book 2. I actually already bought it on Audible. So I'm going to be reading book 2 this next month, and then book 3 comes out next month as well, but I'm going to catch up before book 3 comes out so that it counts for my series challenge. By the way, Elizabeth, you said, is Elizabeth still here? Elizabeth, I hope you're still here. I never answered your question. I am exactly on par, like, week for week. So we're finishing the 3rd week of the year, and I've caught up / DNF'd 3 series so far this year. I DNF'd The Palace Chronicles by Margaret Peterson Haddix. I DNF'd The Desperate Dukes, or whatever it's called, by Leonora Bell. And I finished Winnie the Pooh. So I finished those 3. And then this week, I guess technically I'm not finishing anything. You bought the entire Jacoby series from Book Outlet. Judith loves that series. I think she was talking about reading the 3rd book next month. The Princess in Theory is the first book in her Royal series, right? Yeah. The Reluctant Royals. I really didn't like Princess in Theory. But I really liked book 2. You really like the Jacoby series so far. Yeah, I've definitely been staying up to date on my series pretty well. Let's look at... Gosh. This is how I've been keeping up to date and track of all my challenges so far this year, and it's going great. So, oh! Sword and Sorcery. Oh, that's another thing that I really didn't like about the Lies of Locke Lamora. What is the magic in that book? There's like no magic until like halfway through the first book. And then whatever magic there is, it's like not very interesting, impressive, well explained, or anything. It's just kind of like magic. And I just expected it to be more magical than it was. But according to people, it counts as Sword and Sorcery. I've heard some people say that it's grimdark as well, but Christopher says it's not grimdark. Let me see. Grimdark, Goodreads. But like everyone else like marks it as grimdark, so I don't know who I should trust. Should I trust Christopher or should I trust everyone else on Goodreads? Like 42 people marked it as grimdark. I guess I'm planning on reading A Storm of Swords, if that counts as grimdark this year, so maybe I'll read that and count that for my grimdark. I'm just confused. And 48 people voted it on the best grimdark books lists. So who do I believe? You've seen Locke Lamora listed as grimdark. See, that's what I'm saying. But Chris says it's not grimdark, and I don't know. Like, I may just mark it as grimdark anyway and risk pissing him off. Because I feel like it would be easier for me to find a more fun, like, sword and sorcery book. Oh gosh. Then it would be for me to find a grimdark book. Although, like I said, I am planning on reading the next What's-Its-Face book, so maybe that will count. But, like, for sword and sorcery... Look at all these books that I could read, that I could count for sword and sorcery. I could count the Game of Thrones, but I could also count The Hobbit, which I actually already reread last year, The Fellowship of the Ring, The Last Wish, which Morgan specifically told me not to read, so I'll probably do it just to spite him. The Name of the Wind. Homeland is sword and sorcery, and I was actually planning on reading that next month. There's just like so many other things I could read for sword and sorcery, but like, I don't know. If everyone says that Lies of Locke Lamora is grimdark, then I'm just gonna believe them and not believe Chris. I guess. Which means I can cross this one off my list as well. So far for my fantasy bingo challenge, I've completed 6 books off of my fantasy bingo challenge. So I don't even think I'm gonna draw any books for fantasy bingo in February. because I'm so far ahead, and then I'll like wait until March or April to like really try to get back into it so I can like stay caught up on my other series and like not feel like I'm falling behind or lagging or anything, especially since, I mean, Every Heart a Doorway was short, but Lies of Locke is really long. The Final Empire is really long. So, anyway, for my retelling book bingo, I need to read The Strange Case of the Alchemist's Daughter this month. And then these are Kara's 5-star reads and Christopher's 5-star reads. I read The Lies of Locke, so I can cross that one off. Ka-chinga! That was really annoying. I'm so sorry I did that. Please forgive me. So I've read one of the books off of his list. I forgot to mention, but I also went through my Goodreads and I pulled off the 12 oldest books on my Goodreads. Actually, 10 oldest books. The 10 oldest books on my Goodreads TBR. And I would like to read them. Is this even 10? Yeah, this is 10. 10 oldest books off of my Goodreads TBR, and I would like to read them this year. I decided I would do it because a bunch of them were already on my TBR for this year, so I was for sure going to read Holes this year. I was for sure going to read The Merchant of Death this year. I was for sure going to read The Tenant of Wildfell Hall this year, and for sure going to read Dracula this year, which only leaves 6 left. Should I just make it 12 and stop being a little, like, punk? I should just make it 12, shouldn't I, instead of 10? I don't know. What do you guys think? And the Newbery Honors, I have this list that I've added in, and I'm really excited to get to those. So this is where we have some that crossover of Holes and stuff. For Audible books, I've read 5 off my list, and these are the other, this is the next amount, and then these are all the other ones that I own. Make it 12. So these are the series that I've completed so far this month. Or this year, really. The series that I've started and the sequels that I've read. This is my Audible romance package and the ones that I've completed from it, which is only 2 so far, but that's more than enough so far because I didn't even draw any yet. Unapologetic Romance Challenge, I've been crushing. I already have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 off of the 50, so like, killing it. Romance Across the Ages, I've decided that I'm not going to read in order. Like, you're supposed to read them in a certain order, and I'm not going to. I'm just going to read them as I come to them, because the point is that I'm reading more diversely with, like, my time periods of historical fiction. And, like, The Masqueraders, I know for sure I'm not going to finish this month, but I'm going to finish it in February and stuff like that, so. I'm going to try to, like, choose a couple a month, but since I've already technically completed enough for January and February, I don't think I'm going to really worry about it until March and then start paying attention again in March. Especially since there's like any historical from your TBR and your choice, like there's 2 open categories as well. And then for Romanceopoly, I've technically only completed Cry Wolf, but this is what I'm thinking I'm going to do for Romanceopoly. So I think I'm going to continue rolling for each week within the year, and I might just start doing it on like a weekly basis and adding them in on a weekly basis, and whenever I roll on one that I've already read a book that could complete it for, I think I'm just going to add that book in and not like re-roll for that week, and then roll again next week. And then if I start landing on the same like squares again, I'm just going to try to read 2 books for that challenge and stuff and see how that goes, and maybe reevaluate in the middle of the year. And if I'm like missing some spaces, then I'll start like filling in those spaces. But I think I'm just going to read whatever I land on and not like move on to the next square, even if I already read one for that challenge. I think is how I'm going to do it, but I'm not 100% sure yet. Don't quote me on that. But I've technically only completed Cry Wolf, but I'm going to try to get to 7 Husbands and start Time in Between this week. So that's good. And yeah. So that's how those things are going so far, which I think is pretty gosh darn good. As far as my oldest on TBR, let's go see what my next few oldest ones are. And then we'll call this a quits. Why are you so slow? Yeah, it's a really long time to have stuff on your Goodreads TBR for the past 10, like 11 years. Like, that's a long time. So I'm going to try to finish everything from 2008 and then start working through 2009. I am making some exceptions and skipping things. So, like, there's like 4 Brian Jakes books that I have on my TBR still from 2008. I just chose one of them. I have like 5 Bronte books all mashed together that I added at the same time. I'm just choosing one of them. So like I am skipping through, but then I figure next year I can do the same thing and just choose one again from each of those and like start working through it that way. So let's see. Dracula. Okay, so War and Peace is the next one. And then the next one after that is Tess of the D'Urbervilles. And then after that is Ivanhoe. I honestly don't want to read War and Peace this year. I just genuinely don't. So I'm going to let myself skip that. And I kind of don't want to read Tess of the D'Urbervilles either because I don't want to be depressed. So let's just skip on and just try to read Ivanhoe this year. Because, you know what? At least I'm reading them. And I would like to get to Ivanhoe, and that is February 2011. Feb 2011. And then the other one would be, I don't know, I guess I can do Farewell to Arms. It's fairly short, and I've never read anything by Ernest Hemingway. But I just know that I'm not going to force myself to read, like, Les Mis this year, or force myself to read some of these other ones this year, so. And it's just not happening. This one also is from February 2011, so I'll just add these 2 in. These are going to be more tentative. Oops. And we'll see what ends up happening. Yes, so many classics. But definitely the first, like, 10 are, like, my focus, so. Anyway, that is my TBR for the next week. We'll see what happens. I'm very much ahead. One of the apps that I'm using to track my reading actually is showing me that, like, it's one of those ones that automatically recalculates, which is freaking awesome. So, like, I set my year goal in there as 2,345 hours of reading. And then it will, like, recalculate. So, like, if you read much more than that, then it will, like, continue to, like, lower it down. So I know that I have to read, like, 6.4 hours a day to meet this goal. And then if I keep on, like, reading more than that, then it will continue, like, lowering it down throughout the year, which is, like, really cool, and it's automatically going to update. And I think it's going to be really fun to see at the end of the year, or, like, at the end of each month. I don't know, do you have an iPhone or an Android? I have an Android, and on Android it's called, I think it's just called Goals. Let me look this up. Play Store. My apps and games. Yeah, it's called Goal Tracker. It looks like this. And it's awesome. I don't know if it's on Apple, though. You can easily finish 6 more. Oh, don't even give me that, Judith. We will have some reading sprints this week together, and get through some books. Yeah, I'll definitely do a live stream either this week or next week about how I'm tracking my reading and using apps and stuff to do that, because I would love to go through and show people what I'm doing, because I'm having a lot of fun with it. And yeah, so anyway, that's it for today. Thank you guys so much for hanging out so late. I've been on here for a really long time. My neck is, like, starting to kill me. I need to go lay down. But thank you all. Y'all are awesome and the best ever. I hope y'all are having good reading months, and I hope you get a little bit of a respite from school if you can, Diana, from the snow. That would be really awesome. And stay warm, stay safe. I know we're getting hit with horrible weather over here on the East Coast, and I'm sure you can beat the reading slump, but again, I think just, like, staying consistent, just trying to read a little bit every day and return all the library books. it's something I really had to teach myself, especially over the past like year, is like, just return it to the library. If you have to put it back on hold and wait another month to get it, like, it's not gonna hurt anything. So like, just return it to the library and just get it again when you feel like you can handle it, because otherwise it's just like so stressful. So that's my advice. Have a great rest of the day as well. Thank you. Stay consistent is the mantra of the moment. I hope we need to get ahead a bit so you can have days just to read for fun. That would be lovely. I hope you can do that for sure. Thanks for spending some of your time that you could be spending doing productive things, hanging out with me. I so appreciate it. And I will see you all next week. Sometime, either Thursday or Sunday. We'll see how I feel. Bye, everyone.